I was just curious, is someone like you who I really admire as a man who has been really intentional about his worldview. You now have this little tiny boy who eventually is going to be a man, this little tiny being who looks to, among other people, but mostly looks to his mother and father
Mm.
for really everything. Like, what does all of this mean is not a question that he's asking, but he's looking at you all the time and unconsciously thinking, what does this mean? So I'm just curious, as you have started, you've been on this journey as a dad for about 16 months now, and you had the impetus to start this podcast. So what gave you the impetus to start the podcast? And I would love to, from there we can get into maybe your philosophies and wisdom that you want to
Sure.
impart and all that.
It's a man, you know, my son at the time we're recording this, my son is 16 months, but it took my wife and I 3 years to finally get pregnant. So there was this whole like runway. I remember there's a moment when when my wife was finally pregnant. I remember saying to my wife, "Wow, we did all this just to get to the starting line." Like that was in and of itself, it's a whole journey. Then there's this like, okay, now we have 9 months to prepare and all this. And I remember I had this like romantic view of once my son is born, I'm gonna journal and I'm gonna document and I'm gonna, like really solidify in time my experience of being a father. And then I became a dad, and it was like a fire hydrant to the face of diapers and priorities and bills and all these everyday concerns that you're like you're sometimes lucky to just keep your head above water. And I remember saying to my wife, what early fatherhood taught me is there's some days you win and there's some days you just get to the end of.
Hmm.
And I remember thinking, like, I thought we were going to win a lot more than we did. So I remember he turned one, and I was like, I didn't journal and I didn't document all this, and a lot of my romantic concepts were met with the actual like on the boots, on the ground experience of fatherhood, which was like, wow, here we are. Like, there's days we're just getting to the end of.